Hello, everybody. I'd like to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the Transgender Center of the Rockies, a program of Mile High Behavioral Healthcare. They are this season's Authenticity Ambassador, and we thank them for their support. I would also like to thank this week's sponsors, my besties, Alisa Pritchett and Teriss Moyer, for being this week's Authenticity Advocates. Thank you for your support, guys. Love you. I really appreciate you. Welcome to Being You, an SPH Productions presentation. My name is Shane Hodges, licensed professional counselor and author of It's Time to Be You, How to Become Your Most Authentic Self. Today we have a little bit something different for you. As you can see, instead of just a single guest, I have 4 wonderful people here with me. Thank you all for joining me. They will be joining me in a roundtable discussion on various topics related to authenticity and or being authentic. Sitting around this table, at least one of us falls into each of the following categories: gay, lesbian, straight, cisgender, transgender, male, female, white, Black, Nubian, Latin, Hispanic, creative director, business owner, operations manager, therapist, production manager, podcast producer, DJ, husband, wife, partner, child, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, and or friend, just to name a few. Wow. Just wanted a diverse group. Allow me to introduce Jason Weng, Bo Richardson, Aaron Quintana, and Markie Lindemulder. Again, thank you all for being here today. Thank you. I'd like to go around and you can just share a little bit about yourself. We'll start with you, Jason.
I'm a native to Colorado. I'm older than I used to be. I have 2 kids, wife, still working, doing that suburb thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we got the nice curved stash going on now. Haven't seen you in a bit.
This is more of a temporary thing. It's a temporary thing.
Okay. Bo, how about you?
It's Colorado, born and raised, DJ, just doing life, have a 9 to 5 to help supplement because DJing is hard on its own, but just living life, having fun, and going to see every Janet Jackson concert I can.
I was just listening to her this morning while I was working out, adding some things to my playlist. So, Aaron?
Also a Colorado native, born and raised. I actually left in 2010 to move to New York, and just moving back after 15 years from being out on the road in New York and Florida and many other places. So back in Colorado currently.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Markie.
I moved here. Sorry. I've been in Colorado for 30 years. Nightclub DJ, radio DJ. Been married for 11 years and transgender. Found my way here in this amazing state. Which is, I think, why I'm still here.
Where did you come from?
Pennsylvania.
Steeler. And
Pittsburgh Steelers.
All good. We're all friends here. It's all good. All right. Well, I would like to start off with the definition of authentic. Merriam-Webster indicates that there are a number of meanings. Number 1, not false or imitation, real, actual. Number 2, true to one's personality, spirit, or character. 3, worthy of acceptance or belief as conforming to or based on fact. I am interested to hear how any of you would define authentic or authenticity.
I think for me, it's being your own version of yourself and not somebody else's version of yourself. And I think it's a world where they're going to try to get you to be their version of you. So, yeah, I think it's just, if you can really find that place where you're being your own version of you, I think for me, that's where that lands.
I think going off of that also, it's really accepting the good parts about you, the bad parts about you, showing it, and really being comfortable in allowing yourself to live in that, no matter what people are pushing against you to not allow you to do, or like you said, trying to really push you to be in this box.
Agreed.
I agree. You don't want to fit inside the box.
Who creates those boxes? Where do they come from?
All over the place. Society, family,
yeah, a lot
friends.
Of them, I think a lot of them are society, but a lot of them we build in ourselves from what society pushes on us, or not. I don't want to say pushes on us, but what is there.
Yeah,
that it makes it hard to kind of step out of it and find that comfortable stride where you're like, okay, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, that not everybody is going to, but
Yeah.
I think there's a human instinct that people really like routine. They like what they're used to. They like what they grew up with. They like what their generation does. And if they see something that doesn't look like that, or it can be uncomfortable for people.
Yep.
So those two things, I think, clash.
Yes.
I appreciate two pieces. One, other people's version of you.
Right.
I think that, again, whether it's family, society, we fall into that. And based on what you said, we put a lot of things on ourselves. And that was one of the hardest things for me to acknowledge at different points in my life of, this is me. I have the choice to change or do it differently.
Yeah.
And I haven't done that yet.
or ask yourself those questions. Why don't I want to change? Why don't I like this? Why do I like this?
The why question I ask everyone all the time. My clients, I'm sure they get sick of it. I'm like, okay, why? Keep going. Why? And that's the thing is you have to get to where did this come from? What's behind it? So thank you all for sharing. In what scenarios, if any, do you feel that it is okay, appropriate, or perhaps even necessary to be less than authentic?
I mean, for me personally, I think there's plenty of times that you could be not truly authentic. And it's okay because when you are truly authentic, you're giving yourself to a lot of people and you're giving that your energy and your space. And not everyone deserves that. And not everybody is open to that. So to me, if you're seeing the true authentic me, you've kind of hit a level where you actually have earned that and deserve that. And you get to be in that space with me.
Yeah, I like what you said. In case anybody, you're lucky, and you said it. You deserve me.
Yeah.
I think that was another one for me that I'm like, oh, more so the flip side. You don't deserve me. Like if you can't accept this, and it's a lot, I realize. You all know, but yeah, you don't deserve that. Anything else anyone wants to share?
Yeah, I think sometimes there's a little bit of inauthenticity when you're providing grace to somebody else. Whereas I don't know, maybe I really want to pop off to this waiter right now.
But
I'm going to be a little authentic and give you a break today.
When it comes to Jesus, pride. Yes. I often use an example with some of my clients. You all know my husband is Black. We are a gay couple. And while it probably would not happen by choice, if we were in Alabama or Mississippi walking down the street, I would not be holding his hand. I would not be kissing him in public. Not because I feel I have to hide that or am not allowed to do that. It's for safety reasons.
Yes.
I don't want to take the risk or put either of us at risk for what others may do. And that's where, for me, I think a lot of it comes to trust in others or lack thereof.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean,
yeah.
You think about certain situations like professional sports, schools, churches, that people, to be your true authentic self in some of those situations could ostracize you or, like you say, put yourself in danger. And sometimes people just aren't prepared. They don't know, or like you say, I don't want them to know. They don't deserve it.
Yeah, that right there. Well, I have written my book and shared some of this in there, but my own journey with authenticity took a lot longer than I would like to acknowledge. I am almost 50 years old, and it's still a work in progress. But I'm wondering who else. Well, okay, first of all, let's put this out there. How many of us here have experienced a time or situation where we were less than authentic?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So why do we think so many people struggle with it, and or why it takes so long for some?
I feel like we all are very authentic when we're young and when we're growing up, and then you hit a point where you're not supposed to do this, or you're not going back to what society has taught you or what the history where it's all of a sudden I'm not supposed to be playing with that person or I'm not supposed to be doing this. So you almost those boxes start to build, and that's when it's like, okay, now I have to pull back and figure out like what can I do and be okay and be accepted, and what do I have to hide and put in that box and do in my bedroom when it's just me. And so I feel like we all have always started being authentic, and you learn to kind of push that back. And it's not until you start to figure that, like you, it was a lot later for me than I would like. But there's a point where you have to start going, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself in that box? And what is it getting me? And is it worth it?
Well, not only what is it getting me, looking at it from how is it affecting me
Right.
to not be authentic?
Absolutely.
That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like shoving myself into a box I didn't fit in.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
It's almost soul crushing in a way. Like,
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's easier to be. You just mentioned the great state of Mississippi. Sometimes it's easier to be inauthentic, and I think as you get a little bit older, you may find a point where it's harder to be inauthentic.
Yes.
And that light bulb will come on. Like, oh, okay.
I called it the ick. Like I had a feeling, like I had a visceral feeling whenever I recognized I was not being authentic. And I was like, this is gross. I don't like doing this anymore. And like you said, I hit the point where I said, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Very interesting point that you made that I hadn't really thought about much, which was we're very authentic when we're young.
Yeah.
And then there comes a point, and you used a word that I absolutely hate, and I say this with my clients all the time. Anytime I hear the words I should or should not, or I'm supposed to, my first question always, whether I say it out loud or if it just pops in my head, is according to whom? And so, again, I want to hear more from you, but I want to ask again on that, who or what pushes us to think I'm not supposed to do that or I shouldn't?
I mean, for me, it was definitely a strong feeling from family. I am definitely very different from anyone in my family. I think I'm one of the only people who went to the performing arts side. I'm learning now there are actually more homosexual or bisexual or just more open people in the family than there was, but very much so growing up, there was a very set feeling of I should be playing soccer and I should be doing baseball and I should not be doing dancing. And, and it's funny because now I enjoy playing softball. I'm on a gay softball league. I love it. I think it's a lot of fun. But very early on, there was that feeling of being pushed to not do certain things.
Yeah. Right.
And again, even more so growing up in the 80s with Latinos still trying to, everything was you had to be American. So like I didn't learn Spanish growing up because my dad in his law firm, we were American, like, and you were trying to leave those pieces behind.
Wow.
So I mean, for me, there was multiple areas, but very much so, I would say a strong piece for me was family and really pushing to be a specific way that I just wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's the same, especially being Black, growing up in Colorado, being a lesbian. Because I'm more of a tomboy.
Yeah.
I'm not a stud, but I'm not a femme. I'm not a stud. I saw something on Facebook where it's like whatever Queen Latifah. I'm not a stud anymore. I'm whatever Queen Latifah is.
Love that.
That's my. But growing up in a Catholic family, extremely Christian religious family, and singing in the choir, well, allowed to do sports because they were my grandfather loved playing ball, mainly guard, but the other factors of learning. I remember in 5th grade when I figured out I can't be gay because hearing my family talk about it. And I remember I was in my front yard just pacing and wandering for about maybe an hour, figuring out what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? How can when can I be myself?
Yeah.
How old were you at that time?
Like 5th grade. I remember 5th grade.
Yeah.
And just figuring out, okay, so this is how I have to act. And even though I was still rough and tumble, and I never hid anything from my family really of my personality, I had to learn how to keep some stuff at home and stuff was public.
Yeah.
I could still be certain ways I could be my government name. I could still be Bo at home, but I couldn't be Bo that way at church or at volleyball or at friends' houses, which it is what it is, but that was the construct.
Yeah.
I think it always kind of starts with family a little bit.
And I think it's interesting. I work with adolescents and I've worked with younger kids as well. I appreciate anytime someone has a story like that where you're like, yeah, I was in 5th grade. So you're like 10 or 11 years old. And as adults, we often underestimate what kids already understand at certain ages. We can't talk about that yet. They're not ready or they're not old enough. And I'm like,
you're not ready.
you're not ready. Exactly. That right there. Yeah, I think that's very interesting because, whether we're talking about sexuality or gender, which of course in my work comes up a lot, they're like, no, they don't know that yet. They're too young. And I'm like, not everyone knows at that age, but many of us, I knew at 10. Yeah. And it's, again, what are you as the adult or parent comfortable with? And as someone who has children, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, so it's funny how you mentioned certain things like family puts you into a place where you feel like you should fit or you don't know how to. I mean, growing up, I played baseball. That's what I like to do. I wanted my kids to play sports or whatever, just do something organized, When my oldest got to high school and so they did music in junior high, but then when high school started, marching band is very different. It's very different from jazz band. We just sit there and play music, go home. And they said they didn't really want to do marching. They'd rather do color guard. My experience with color guard growing up in my era, if you will, there were at the time we didn't know Phoebe was trans. So I was like, boys don't do color guard. Yeah. I don't think you're prepared for this. You're going to get picked on and but if you're sure about this, you go do it. Well, there's already a boy. I'm like, whatever. If you're comfortable with it, you go do it. But in my mind, I'm like, this is a bad idea because I knew what I grew up with. So I know what boxes or lanes people were supposed to be in. I know you hate that word, but I was terrified because I wasn't prepared. I was not ready for the repercussions of that choice. I mean, obviously it turns out that was the best thing for them because they got to be around people who loved, accepted, whatever, and they enjoyed it. And they're still doing it now.
Well, I often, because I work with a lot of adolescents, I end up at times having conversations or sessions with their parents. And I tell parents, you are, generally speaking, most parents do things and they're coming from a place of protection and love and care, right? And I tell the kids, it may seem like mom and dad are trying to ruin your life. As teenagers, that's what we all, right?
What? Yes, of course.
And I tell them they're basing it off of their knowledge, their experience, what they know. That doesn't mean it's right or it fits, but they're doing what they can with the information they have.
Right.
And when I got into this field, I started having clients come in and telling me certain things. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to go well for you. Again, because of my experience.
Right.
Where I was concerned. What, if anything else, do we think gets in the way of people being their most authentic selves?
Fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of the unknown or the known. I have a friend who came out as gay, and this is the things they had to endure. I'm not coming out. Yeah. Maybe that fear of what they've seen or what they've heard, what family talks about, and you're like, whoa, maybe I can't discuss these things with them. Yeah. I think fear is a huge part of that. Finding someone who's not afraid to be with you, to help you through that, who's already faced the fear. Yeah. But it's hard.
I think fear is I think as an emotion, fear is the greatest motivator.
Right.
And not necessarily in a great way. It does protect us sometimes, but more often than not, I think it keeps us or holds us back.
Yeah. I mean, I will also throw out there survival. It's 2025. As much as we want to talk about it, I've just been on a tour and I was in Kentucky. And it was very much so that feeling. It's funny because in my head, I was like, this is the first day on this tour that I really, really felt it. We were a week in Texas, there are different places you go, but just that feeling of seeing these three guys in their cowboy boots and their cowboy hats, and maybe I was stereotyping them, but seeing the way that they were looking at me, I was like, okay, just keep walking, be very much, try to walk as straight and, and however you, just get from point A to point B, because there is now this thing where it feels like there's been permission for people to go back to hating, reacting, doing whatever they feel like they could do. And they can say that, oh, well, my religion makes me feel like this way. So to me, survival is one of the things that I think about almost daily.
I put fear and pain kind of like, I think those are kind of a Batman and Robin right there.
Yep.
And I think when you think about pain, I mean, when you feel physical pain, it's your body's doing its job. It's telling you something's not right here. But at the same time, we're also evolved enough and we're smart enough now to know that sometimes we need to manage pain, right? We don't just let pain like run amok because your arm is broken.
There's Tylenol.
Well, maybe it's the same person.
Maybe
Maybe,
do Tylenol anymore though.
and if we're managing physical pain, maybe we need to learn to manage fear too.
Mhm.
Maybe fear is the same way. It doesn't need to just run amok.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, I'm a little biased, but being in the field of psychology and mental health, we need to start teaching more about this at a younger age. I think it would alleviate so many problems. And for decades, again, my generation, as a kid, you didn't go to a therapist. If you went to a therapist, you were crazy or something was wrong with you, and you
Right.
certainly didn't tell anybody. That shit was secret.
I told
Again,
nobody
it's-
when I saw therapists when I was younger.
No, of course
I was
not.
the weird one.
Yeah,
You
of
know?
course. That's what the
I-
society told us back then.
Mhm.
And it's gotten much better. In 2020, COVID was a big turning point because at that point, everyone was, oh, yeah, we all struggle with this. Everybody struggles. And it's okay now to see a therapist. All right. Well, let's move on to the next piece. What, if anything, would any of you like to share about your own journey and or struggles with authenticity?
Learn to care, I guess. I mean, that's easy to say, but it's not technically 100% true. Because at a younger age, I don't know, a lot of energy. Wasn't an ADD thing back then, even though I guarantee it was. A lot of people call me weird and he's just hyper and whatever. I mean, I had a okay childhood, I guess, but learning to just accept who I was. And high school was actually better for me than I thought I was going to be.
Okay.
Because I didn't care. Like I did, but I didn't. You know,
Mhm.
like, oh, the popular girls don't like me. I don't care. That guy wants to peck on me. Whatever.
Mhm.
I didn't want to get my ass kicked or beat up, but I didn't react to it as much. You know, it was more just letting it go because that was the way I felt I could survive. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 100 pounds, 6 foot,
Yep.
pimples and glasses and terrible hair, and got picked on a lot. But I had a good group of friends too who also didn't care that I was a little bit odd, you know, or non sequitur or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I like what you said about not caring. I transitioned in the workplace about 3 or 4 years ago, and I often brag to myself internally that I have a PhD in not giving a shit.
I love that.
But it's like, also when we're talking about fear of being authentic and the fear of what other people are going to react to your authenticity, there's also that people are really busy. They're so wrapped up in themselves, People don't have a lot of time to be too angry about your authenticity, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I think similar to what you said earlier, we put a lot of it on ourselves.
Yes.
And that is one of the, again, biggest things about authenticity is, for me anyway, I had to focus on what I can control. I can't control others. Whether they like me or not, and I've definitely now gotten to a place that mine was not in high school for sure. I cared a lot then. But I don't give a shit what people think or if they like me or not. I don't like everybody.
It takes a long time.
Yeah,
It's a process.
It's hard. So personally deals with people pleasing.
Uh-huh.
You don't want that flat.
Oh
You
my
don't
God,
want that.
yes.
And I noticed I did a lot, especially
I still do.
and then you kind of get, I don't want to say groomed into it, but as an athlete in practice, coach tells you to do this.
Yeah.
Coach gets on you about this. And all I ever said was, okay, yes, okay, because that's how I would, do as I say, not as I do. In the kind of house. So when I got to the point of like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this just to make them happy? Am I doing this because I want to do this for them?
That right there.
And I think that does kind of attach to the fear, but am I happy doing this for that person?
That. Yep. Absolutely.
My entire career has been in performing arts. And so I started as a performer. So a lot of that is, you're creating something to pretend to be somebody else. So that again, right there is taking away a piece of the like being your authentic self because you're always going into something else and you're always trying to be someone else. And sometimes you find out things about yourself and you're like, oh, that's really cool. But I think going back to that, a lot of it comes from people pleasing or trying to make sure that you're putting on this act or you're trying to get this job. So you're trying to sell yourself this way or, so there's very much so that piece of like, at what point are you actually you? Like, what pieces of these are you?
Yeah.
And I was really going through some heavy therapy, and it kind of came off of what one of the things you said for me to start being more authentic was I kept saying something about other people coming after me or doing this or doing that. And the therapist was like, why do you think you're so important? And I was like, what do you mean? And at first I was like, what?
Yeah.
But it's that piece of, like you said, people are busy. People have their own lives. Like, you're putting so many people are thinking about you in this sense. Most people aren't even giving you that much attention about it. In your head, they are.
Okay.
But yeah, but for them, it was just a little blimp of their day of something that they were doing because they were busy thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to hear that you're like, well, of course I'm important. But again, in the way of what it was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was really kind of cool for me to go, you know what, you're right. Most people, I'm probably overthinking what people think about me when 9 times out of 10, I'm a second of their day versus what I think they're putting onto it. And that really gave me a lot of more permission to go, I can be who I am and do what I want to do and not worry about that as much because it's, again, go back to what's bothering you or worrying you to be you.
Yep.
I think once you get older too.
Yes.
I'm like, I give a shit.
Yeah.
like it was the same. Like if it's not gonna make a difference to you in 5 years, should you hold on to it?
Right.
Yes.
And I've graced the threshold of 50s. It's wonderful. It's silver. It's beautiful. The back is awesome. I've just learned to be like, if I, it's easier for me to say no.
Right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
feel okay saying no about it. But if I say no, it's going to be an honest, like, not that I can't, it isn't I can't help you, but it's going to be determining on how it comes to you.
Mhm.
Because sometimes I'm going to be saying, I'm like, no, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I'm like, look, would you?
Right.
No.
Boundaries.
Right, yeah.
Boundaries.
Right.
That was a huge piece for me.
Yeah.
I had none, and huge people pleaser. I came from a long line of people pleasers, and that fear of confrontation. Like, I don't want anybody mad at me, or I don't want to have the fight. And again, you're assuming that there will be one. Well, how do any of you feel about where you are in your own journey with authenticity?
Halfway. I don't know. It's always a process. It evolves. I mean,
Yes.
you are who you are, essentially. But I mean, it's like anything. It's like a tree grows. It's still branches are gonna sprout in different places. You don't expect it to be perfectly symmetrical. It's still a process. I mean, my significant other told me, I don't know if the world is prepared for the real authentic you. I mean,
Yes.
it is a process for me.
Yeah.
But like you say, I don't give a shit. Yeah. I do, but I don't. Whatever. It's more of a whatever.
There's a tier for it.
Yeah.
If it fits, I'll put it there.
I like that you said it's ongoing. It's an evolution. It doesn't stop because not only do we change and evolve as we age, but we don't live in a static bubble.
Right.
And the people around us and the situation or the state of the world or whatever, other pieces change. So we adapt. That's what humans do. I often say who I was last year, 5 years ago, and certainly 20 years ago, not even remotely this version of me.
Right.
So,
like you say with acting, you kind of discover certain things about
Yeah.
yourself. I think that's part of that evolution. You're like, well, I didn't realize I like that, or I don't like that anymore, or whatever changes.
I think keeping friends around, like me and Markie have been friends for years,
Mhm.
and keeping friends around like that help you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
My instinct would be to say that I've never been in a better place, but I really like what you said about we have to be a work in progress.
Yeah.
Because I still catch myself, like what Bo just said about people pleasing, and I'll find myself, I'm like, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. So I think work in progress is
Absolutely.
very important.
Well, I'm interested to hear what, if anything, can you think of that you used to hide and no longer do?
My random thoughts.
Yeah.
Just keep them internal. Now, people are either going to react to it or they're not, or it is what it is. Just say stupid things and whatever. That's probably my biggest.
Yeah.
For me, it's really easy. It's going to have to be like the level of femininity with which I choose to present. I mean, that's way different than it used to be for me.
Yeah. And you did mention transitioning at work in the last few years. How was that?
That was something that, I mean, because I'd been sort of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out for so many years of my life. And I always figured, I wanted to be out at work And I always figured, well, I'll just when I move on to another job, I'll do it then. But this damn job is just so fun, and it just kept getting better and better. And fortunately, I had some. I mean, it was kind of the worst kept secret in Denver radio, but fortunately, I had some friends, and even my boss, who eventually was like, "Markie, are you ready to do this?" And really helped me. And I also work for an amazing company that's so incredibly supportive, Cronky Sports and Entertainment, who changed the name on my door the same day. They changed my email the same day.
Wow.
Those things really, I'm like, those things were incredible.
Yeah.
And also, I probably would, you're always going to wish you'd done it earlier.
Yeah.
But without my wife in particular, Beth, I probably would have taken a lot longer. Yeah.
I appreciate the company and how they handled things. I use that as an example of how when you are authentic, finally, it is amazing what comes with that and how liberating it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why now I'm getting emotional. I talked a lot about with my own, the oppressive feeling, the weight that comes along with it is so overwhelming. Yeah. And when you finally get to a place where, even if it's a small step or what seems like a small step, it's a huge difference. I love to hear that. Thank you for sharing.
Let me add one experience I had because it was a time when I was still working towards that. And I'm at Trax nightclub for a Drag Nation rehearsal. And in the next door over is one of our hosts. And I'm not out at work yet.
Oh, your host from work
is doing another event next door.
Gotcha.
And I'm Markie. And it's like, I'm not going to hide from this. I'm going to go say hi. His name's Ryan Harris. He's a former Denver Bronco. Ryan Harris is a former Denver Bronco and a Muslim.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, I came over and he saw me and he ran over to me and picked me up in the air. And then the next day said, "Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a good person." Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, I love those. Yeah, I love those stories. All right, let's see here. Some of you are parents, and I think, to my knowledge, the rest of us have nieces, nephews, friends who have children that we've been in their lives. What, if any, role do you feel we play, or what responsibility do we have in helping the younger generations be authentic or feel they have that opportunity?
I think for me, a big thing, because I have a nephew who's almost 2 years old. And for me, a big piece of that is going to be that person in the family of going, you know what? No, if he wants to do this, let him do that. Let him try it. He might be done with it in 2 weeks. He might end up loving that. But I feel like if I had somebody there in the family at that point to maybe go, let them try things, let them do things. You know, like you said, you're going to be worried about what others are going to think or if it's going to be okay or you're going to get bullied. But again, having somebody going, but it's okay, try it. To me, that's where I feel like my role definitely will stem for him in that.
Nice.
Yeah, letting go and just let it happen. You want to try it? Go for it. I mean, it's
How hard is that?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard
particularly as the parent,
because I know what I've experienced and what I've seen or what I've heard.
Well, let's go to something we've talked about. What's the fear?
Other people's reaction.
That right.
That is my biggest fear.
That is what I think is so sad for me, is that it's not about the person. It's about others.
Yeah.
Right.
What are they going to do? How are they going to react? And
kids
sadly,
are vicious too.
Oh my goodness!
They're so mean. They can be. I shouldn't say kids in general. There are kids who can be horrific people.
Yeah. And again, we're all similar, close in age. Things were so different when we were young. And of course, that's every generation. One of the things I've pointed out and noticed since I've been in this field, which is about 16 years now, the advancement rate of technology far exceeds our advancement as humans to adapt to that technology.
Right.
Yeah. And for example, information. Information is everywhere. And it's always coming at us from every direction. Our phones, our laptops, the television, people, whatever. We've not adapted to or evolved to process that much information.
Right.
And then we get to this point in recent years where it's not only information, it is there's a lot of false information.
Yeah.
And now with AI, the fake things being it's like, how do you decipher? It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And so I do not envy the kids. I do not envy the parents. But I think that's a really big piece of this is let them explore. Let them figure themselves out. And yes, be there to support or catch or whatever. But I think that's a really big piece of this.
And love's a big piece of it too.
What's that?
Love.
Ah.
Like, it's hard for some people. When I hear stories of, especially like at Pride, and there's people giving the free hugs, that certain kids are like, oh, you are? See ya.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't understand that. I cannot imagine telling my child, I'm done.
Yeah. I've known Jason for a long time, and I've always told you this. I think you are an amazing parent, and you have been, as long as I've known you, almost 18 years now, an
It's been a
amazing
minute.
ally. I think it's because you're a good human. And unfortunately, for some reason, it seems like too often that's not how we're raised. That's not what we do have those things that are said, you're not supposed to do that, or that's not okay, or you should do it this way. And it's like, but why? That's a big part for me in my own journey and my work with others. Why? Where does that come from? You're religious? Okay, why? Do you believe in that? Does it fit for you? You're a Republican or Democrat? Why? You don't like trans people or gay people or black people. Okay, but why? Where does that come from?
I have a question for Jason. When you talk about the fear of your child's classmates and how they will be treated, do you see a shift in how your child is treated? I mean, does that match up with what your expectation from when you were that age of what a child of that age would have been treated back then? Do you see, is it better?
I feel like it's better in a sense. Social media is a terrible thing.
Yes.
That. But having more advocates and people who have traveled that road has helped, I think, alleviate some of my fear. But kids, I mean, outside of high school, it's better because it's not this box of some horrific children. I feel like it's more acceptance now than maybe when I was, let's say that when I was in 10th grade or whatever, I'm like, you know what? I'm trans or I'm gay or whatever. I don't think the reaction would have been the same. I think it would have been worse back then. For me, and where I grew up, I don't know if kids were prepared for it. There wasn't the information either.
We didn't have the word transgender then. I mean, when I was, even in the time that I've been in this field, when I first got in it in 2010, 2009, it was still LGBT. And I will openly acknowledge that at that time, T was the one I knew the least about. And I got thrust into it because the agency I worked with, I was the token rainbow guy. And so I got anybody that fell under that category, and I started working with trans kids. And at first I was freaking out because I'm like, I don't know anything about this. It was the most amazing thing. And now, at any point, a third of my clientele are on the gender spectrum. It's education.
Right.
And I think, I like how you said, I'm not sure it's better. I do think it was worse in many ways. I think it's different now.
That's
because things still happen, like bad things, the bullying, attacks, however you want to put it, but it's different. You know, even though there's a wider acceptance of LGBTQ individuals, the social media part is a huge piece.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
You know, I had a funny experience on the way to work a few weeks ago. I stop at a 7-Eleven and here's 3 teenage boys from the high school next door going into the 7-Eleven at the same time as me. And it's like, oh, hi. Held the door for me, smiled. I'm like, those aren't the teenage boys I knew.
Nope.
So I think it is better.
I think the allyship is different because especially from these kids have a different I don't want to say more sensitive part than what we had growing up, because I mean, I think when we were taught to grow up, we were like, suck it up and deal, tough it out.
Yeah.
You're not gonna, it's not gonna be like this forever. You can, when you get older, you can move and do whatever.
Gen X
These
mentality.
kids now see something. It's more of a see something, say something, because that's my friend, and I'll whoop your ass for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that's more of standing on your word, standing on your bond of that friendship, and to see that more now, I think, is where it is. It is different. Right. From when we were in high school.
Well, I think it's evolved for the younger generations. They don't care about they don't care about gender or sexuality. They're like, I don't care. You're in therapy, so am I. Everybody is, and it's like that was
remember
not
those
life.
teenage boys when I was in high school.
But I think, and as much as we can say social media is a bad thing, but there's also that piece where it is a good thing, or like RuPaul's Drag Race, like the fact that it's so much more open. There, there's Netflix, there's a gay section, there's a transgender section. The fact that those are actually out there now, that wasn't the case in the 80s or the 90s. So if you weren't seeing it on cable or TV or whatever you had right then, in that little 3-mile radius of your life,
and
you weren't getting to see
a piece
it.
of
So
this.
there is a piece of social media. I don't love it, but at the same time, you can find people that are like you, and you can find a little bit easier to be yourself.
That's a good point.
Well, and two things I will say about social media, as with just about anything, pros and cons, good and bad. Nothing, you can't just say social media is bad for kids. Right. No, there's absolutely amazingly positive things. And then in terms of the better, worse, change, different, it is to some degree still about location. Because with my work, I am Denver Metro, but even when you get into Douglas County, so Highlands Ranch and South, I have had horror stories shared by clients that go to those schools who are on the gender spectrum, who came out as gay, and they've been attacked physically and verbally, and it's ridiculous. But again, I think a big part of it is continued education and exposure. Yeah. And is that happening? All right, well, this brings us to the wow segment of our program, the words of wisdom. If you've seen any of my other episodes, I always ask this of my guests. What, if any, words of wisdom or advice do you have or would you like to impart regarding being authentic?
Okay, I'll go first. Talk about what you want. Don't talk about what you don't want. And I'm guilty of it as much as anybody, but I hear people all the time talk about what they don't want. Like saying I don't want to be broke is way different than saying I would like to be comfortable with money. It's two completely different things. Yes. And I think you can relate that to being authentic. Talk about how you want to be. Talk about how you want your life to look, what your life to look like. And then I think one little add-on to that is remember that when you are authentic, somebody else is going to see that, and you're going to give somebody else strength.
Yes, absolutely. Love that.
I think for me, it would be finding your more authentic self and actually putting that out into the world. You're going to actually be a lot happier because what you get back in the same sense. And it's also one of those pieces, spending a lot of time trying to fit into a group or trying to be where you are with those people. You're going to have friendships with them, but they're not going to be true, real friendships because you're not your true, real self. So again, to get that more authentic friendship and authentic life in life, it's really the more you can be yourself and the more you can put that out there, the more fulfilling your life and what you're going to get back is going to be.
Absolutely. Agreed.
I think self-love. It's hard sometimes to love parts of myself. But if you can't learn to do it or learn how to love yourself or not necessarily fix the things you don't like, but find a different direction for it, I think that's a huge factor because a lot of people just don't, and I'm guilty of it myself because there's parts of me that I don't like. There's plenty of times where I've hated myself for certain things I've said or ways I've acted or just learning to accept who you are, love yourself, and then you can project it, and yeah.
I would, self-love, find those who do love you, And there's one thing my mom always taught me: take a ticker on yourself sometimes. Sometimes the accountability. Sometimes you're going to do stuff you don't like that you're like, oh, I should have said that, I should have done that. But as long as you can go back and check yourself on that and say, well, how if the next time I'm in this situation, how can I make it better? How can I not do that? How can I always continually self-improve on that?
Yeah.
Because that keeps you accountable to the love of yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then after that, everything else that doesn't fit in part with that is just secondary and won't fit.
Yeah, I would summarize with a few pieces that have come up. One, you do have to own your own shit. I'm just very blunt with my clients. I'm like, you got to own your own shit because none of us are perfect, and learn from what you did wrong. Do better next time. The motto that I have as a therapist, and I tell all my clients, what works for you? And that's one of the hard things, is because you do have to be honest with yourself. Sometimes it is trial and error, and you don't realize something isn't authentic to you until you realize, oh, nope, that didn't work. I didn't like that. So again, it's that continued evolution. Any closing comments? Well, again, I want to say thank you all for being here. This has gone swimmingly. I am so excited for this, and I appreciate all you being participants.
Thank you for I feel like I learned a lot from you.
Yeah, same. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for the last minute join. Thank you all for watching. Again, my name is Shane Hodges, licensed professional counselor and author of It's Time to Be You: How to Become Your Most Authentic Self. Have a great day and be yourselves, everybody. Thanks again to the Transgender Center of the Rockies for being this season's Authenticity Ambassador. We appreciate all the work you do. Check them out at transgendercenteroftherockies.org.